Welcome to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast, a show for women entrepreneurs who want to build, grow, and lead successful businesses and high-performing teams. I'm your host, Lindsay White, leadership coach and people strategy expert, here to bring you unplugged conversations with a variety of amazing guests who share expert advice and real actionable people strategies for your growing business. Ready to get unplugged? Let's jump in. So much. I have a great guest, Terrina Taylor, with me today. So happy to have you with me. Glad you're on the show.
I'm so happy to be here, Lindsay. I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a passionate small business consultant specializing in merchant services, which I love. Terrina brings over a decade of expertise in helping businesses thrive through streamlined payment solutions and financial strategies. Terrina is dedicated to supporting local businesses and fostering growth within the community, which I love to do too. She's also an advocate for financial education at an early age, believing in the power of knowledge to shape better financial habits in the future. She encourages and supports minority entrepreneurs to take control of their financial destinies and achieve their business goals. Through Terrina's consultancy, businesses gain access to tailored payment solutions, invaluable insights, strategic partnerships, and really maximize their efficiency and their profitability. And I love that this is really about the merchant services, getting you and your business paid. Love it.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about how you got here. What's your journey been?
Journey here. I own a salon with my mom. My mom has had a salon for 35 years. I grew up in a salon. So I pretty much that's the salon was my life for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I tried to quit in 2018, but I had to come straight back because my mom got sick and I had to come back. But I know I had to change some things. Then Corona hit, so we had to be out of work for a little while.
Yes.
We came back in 2021, kind of trickling back into after the pandemic. And I started to accept, of course, contactless payments because at that time, a lot of people didn't want to pay in cash. So
Yeah.
I did what most entrepreneurs do. You get on Google, what should I use to take payment?
Yeah.
Square, of course, was the number one choice for an in-person business because you could take the little card reader, stick it
Yeah.
in your phone and take charge a card. So I started using Square. And me, I'm very inquisitive. So I noticed something that I don't know if a lot of people notice when they use it, but if somebody has their card stored in your system, it's different fees associated with that as opposed to if somebody swipes their card with you in person.
Oh.
So I was like, why is that? So once I realized, with a stored card in your system, the risk is higher because you have their information stored in your system. And if I was say, a dishonest business owner, I could just charge that card whenever I want to. Then it would be a
Right.
dispute. But as opposed to if somebody had that card in person, they know that the person actually handed me a card and I swiped it, and the
Yeah.
risk is lower. It makes sense, right?
I would never have thought about it, but yes, that's
Yeah.
totally logical.
Exactly. So once I learned about that, I was just like, was it more into payment processing? I wanted to learn a lot about payment processing. I wanted to learn more about payment processing. So I just started digging deeper and I found a company that I was able to partner with to become a independent seller of all the services that they provide. So we have a partnership, a network over 15 different payment processing providers. So anything that a person needs to accept payments, collect payments, accept payments online, locally, gateways, anything we need as a business owner to accept payments, we offer those solutions for you. And our business is different from like PayPal, Stripe, Square, because we actually offer merchant accounts. So most people think that when they sign up with these companies, they're actually getting a merchant account, but they're not. You are actually a sub merchant underneath of one master merchant, and they usually charge higher fees. The customer service is usually poor,
Yeah.
and you don't have that security of knowing that you actually have your own merchant account. So it's the peace of mind that comes with it, the customer service aspect of it, and actually saving some money as well.
Well, and I think those are two things that are so important to us as small business owners. First and foremost, we always are watching our expense lines. And I know that, aside from your payroll line, if you have a team, some of the highest fees you pay are banking and service fees related to whether it's credit cards or debit cards or any of those things. That's a big expense in many small businesses.
Right.
So I really appreciate that. And then yeah, you need the right customer service because the truth is we don't know anything about this stuff. Like we're
Right.
not experts at it. All we
Exactly.
know is that we're trying to get paid and spend the least amount of money on that as possible.
Exactly.
So yeah, and it is a tricky space to navigate. It's a tricky space to navigate.
It's like so niche, but it's also needed. So it's like
Mhm.
everybody needs the service, but it's something that a lot of people don't even really think about much.
100%. That I think that's exactly it. We
Yeah.
don't think about it much.
Yeah. You don't. So I think that it's a unique business to be in, and I think that it offers a lot of support in ways that it's behind the scenes. With
Yeah.
most businesses, it's a whole lot of businesses out there that's doing things that's like upfront in your face. I
Yeah.
kind of like the behind the scenes work. I like being behind the curtain, the man behind the curtain, because I mean it's still very supportive in the business,
Yeah.
but I don't have to, be there every day and showing up for you every day and all that. As long as
Yeah.
you need me, I'm here for you. But I like to support businesses, especially with getting paid, because that's a big aspect of a business,
Yeah.
correct? Not a business if you're not making money.
Totally. Totally. And I think it's so interesting. You clearly grew up with, your mom owned a business. You grew up in the salon. My youngest daughter was actually an apprentice in a salon when COVID hit. It shut everything down.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, cash was king. And then suddenly nobody wants to touch each other and nobody wants to touch money.
Exactly.
And that really shifted a whole bunch of things for businesses in terms of how they collect payment.
Exactly. And now,
Yeah.
I mean, most businesses have the tap device, so
Yep.
it's quicker than actually sliding your card into the little portal. You just can tap it, and it's how let
Done.
me hurry and get my receipt and get out of here.
Yeah, totally. Well, and as a business owner, we're not chasing payments, right? And ultimately, who has time for that?
Right.
And I've had a couple clients, I'll admit, I've had a couple clients that have walked away from payments. It's been incredibly disappointing.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I think, if we can make that transaction quick and effective and less expensive, then everybody's happy about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. So tell me, I mean, you've been building this business sort of now over the last 3 or 4 years. Tell me what you've learned as you've been scaling and growing this business of yours.
Specifically that you have to be really picky. I mean, I learned this when I was doing hair, but even more so now, you have to be really picky about your clientele. You
Tell us more about that.
everybody is not your client. Everybody is not for you. And I think that we have to set boundaries early in
Yeah,
business because you will get burnt out quickly.
yeah,
People will use you, people will take advantage of you. So you have to put those boundaries in place to let people know how to treat you, because that's one thing you are allowing people to do. If they're treating you wrong, that's because you're allowing it to happen. If
100%.
Yeah, if you don't allow it to happen, then it won't happen. You have to put boundaries, clear boundaries, for people to understand that this is not what we do here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is so key, in our lives and in our business is those boundaries. And for some of us, that's really hard to do. It's hard to create those boundaries sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Have you found those challenging sometimes to put in place?
For me personally, no. It's just because of the way I grew up. Sometimes my children tell me that actually I'm a little mean sometimes. So I try to actually be a little softer because maybe my boundaries are a little too rigid. But it's a balance to me that you have to have between being kind, because I said being nice and being kind is two different things.
100%.
Yeah, I
Everything.
might be not I'm not a nice person, but I am kind. I do care about people. I love people to a certain extent. I do have a line where I draw a line,
Yeah.
because of certain things that I'm just not going to allow you to do to me, because just like I said, because of the
Yeah.
way I grew up. Yeah.
You know what? I like honestly, I love that point. Being nice and being kind are two very different things. And kindness also extends to ourself.
Yes.
Like that's not just an external piece, it's an internal piece. And having boundaries that you guard quite carefully is actually being kind to yourself, to
Exactly.
your time. We're talking about this very much in a business context, having those boundaries so that clients aren't taking advantage of you. You don't have the scope creep. You don't have someone that doesn't pay on time, that doesn't show up ready to go. Like those kinds of things. I mean, that actually I think is really important.
Hmm.
One of my favorites, Brene Brown, and any of you that listen to the show on a regular basis, I talk about Brene Brown in like every second episode because I'm obsessed. But
Hmm.
one of her phrases that I love the most, she talks about clear is kind. Like when we are clear with people about our expectations and our boundaries, we are actually being kind to them because they know how to show up. They
Right.
know how to work with us. They know how to interact with us. They know what the expectation and the accountability is.
Exactly. And you have to hold people accountable.
You do.
You do,
You
because if you
do.
don't do hold them accountable, you're doing a disservice to them.
Yes, exactly. You're not helping them in a
Not
really
helping them
holistic,
at
full
all.
way.
Exactly.
And so I think, thank you for bringing that up, because I think with a lot of, I mean, I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs and small business owners, and I think that there is confusion in that space about being nice
Hmm.
versus being kind. And
Definitely.
in fact, when we are nice, people will take advantage of us. And some of it is done very unconsciously. They don't mean to take advantage. They just do,
Yes.
right? And I'm going to give, most of our clients the benefit of the doubt that they're not horrible people. They are trying to get what they need. And if we are nice, we are giving too much away to them,
Hmm.
right? I love that. I love that. What else? Is there anything else that you've really learned over the last couple years? What else stands out for you?
I know we were talking about this is about leadership.
Yeah.
Even just in my household, this is not even all automatically business related, but just in my own household, I have two girls. I have two daughters. And if you have children, you know the first daughter and the second daughter are totally different people.
Yes.
That
Yes.
second daughter will put that hand around your neck and feel like you're drowning sometimes. That second child is, woo, it's a beast. So just Corona, just over the, being the pandemic, being home, and then she's a teenager. I just had to reevaluate how I run things at my house.
I love that.
Yeah, is it really, it's more about you changing some things about yourself, actually, especially being a parent, because parenting is a job that nobody has a handbook for. I mean, you can
No.
read a lot of handbooks about it, but it depends on the child who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all thing.
No.
So I just had to step back and think about how I'm doing things in my own household, and changing some things about how I'm raising that specific child, because the first child was different than that second child.
So I love that. And thank you for bringing that up, because we don't just lead in our business, we lead in our whole life. And
Mhm.
my philosophy is that leadership starts from within. We got to lead ourselves first.
Definitely.
Like it's an inside job. And you're right. For many of us, and I would tell you the majority of women that listen to this podcast are mothers in
Hmm.
some way, shape, or form, right? I mean, my kids are adults, and I'm using air quotes. You can't see me. I'm using the term loosely because, some days they function as full adults and other days not so much. They're all, young adult, in that young adult space. But you're right. Every single one, I've heard 4 kids, every single one of them is different. They all
Totally
need
different.
something different from us.
Hmm.
And I think it is a great way that we expand our leadership
Definitely.
in our business and in our life at the same time. So I love that you've brought this. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's definitely part of learning how to lead, especially with different personalities.
Yeah.
Because when you're a leader in a business, of course, everybody not gonna be the same either. So you're gonna have to,
Yeah.
develop a rapport with different people.
Yeah.
different strategies, would work with different people. People learn differently, people see
Yeah.
things differently. So
Yeah, they
it's
do.
just something that you should also get used to within a business as well.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Every client's going to be different.
Exactly.
So, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Let me ask you this. What does leadership mean for you?
It means that you are accountable for yourself. This
Okay.
especially. I know I had a time for some time at during the pandemic, just getting up to make myself do things. And I know a lot of people had that when they start working from
Yeah.
home. Because when you're at
Yes.
work, you have a structure. You got to do this, you got to do this because you're in an
Yeah.
office setting. But when you're home and you just at
Yeah.
home, it's hard to get yourself into a schedule, into a routine.
Yeah.
So being able to do that by yourself without having anybody to tell you what
Yeah.
to do,
Yeah.
that's something that a leader definitely has to have. They have to have structure.
Yeah.
They have to be self-disciplined,
Yes.
self-motivated. And motivation is not always going to come every day. You have to do something to get yourself in that headspace of being
Yeah.
ready to getting the work done. Because it's days where you're not going to feel like it. There's a lot of days where you're not
Yeah.
going to feel like doing anything, and you have to make yourself get up and do what you have to do because that's what you got to do. What you got to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think you're right. I mean, I I say it a little bit tongue in cheek, but like, COVID ruined everything. And
Yes.
it did. Like it really got in the way. Like let's be clear. But it also did have some valuable lessons for us. And I think you're absolutely right. For many of us, it forced us
Hmm.
to go internal. What do I want to do and how am I going to do it?
Definitely.
Right? So that's that you're really talking about that self leadership, right? Like really finding inside of our own heart and our own ambition to motivate, to create structure that we require, to to be courageous and just try it,
Hmm.
right? To really go I think COVID also it really forced a whole bunch of us to go back to what we value the most,
Definitely.
right? Like for many people, I think we reevaluated and re-articulated our value of family, what
Yes.
it means to be a family, how I care for my family, how I operate in my like how we work and grow together. But yeah, like how do I want to show up in the world?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot with that.
Well,
Um,
I like to listen to Tony Robbins a lot. I actually had the chance to go to it at home version. Of course, it was a virtual
yeah.
version of the UPW event in 2021. And just getting up, that's one thing Tony teaches is about your state. So usually when we in that state of mind where we don't feel like doing anything, we have to actually get up and move our bodies because our bodies is in a state where we are
Yeah.
comfortable, and you have to get out of that comfort zone and move that body and once you start moving your body, you get a little energy. So it's time for you got to wake up. So I got into the practice of getting up and priming myself daily, just getting up to put my mind in that state of, getting myself ready for the day. I write a lot of things down, have to have a schedule, a plan,
Yeah.
schedule out your day. And that really helps me to keep it going.
Yeah, changing the geography, right? I got to tell you, one of the things that I've really tried to do more of is the movement, yes,
Yes.
but also getting outside.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but for me, being in nature, just um, even yesterday I didn't have time to go for a walk, but I sat on my patio just for 10 minutes with the sun on my face,
Hmm.
just really doing some breathing exercises, get some oxygen in your lungs that's
Hmm.
not at this time of the year coming through an air conditioner.
Right.
Um, and really feeling the sun on my face, knowing that that's helping me generate a little vitamin D in my body,
Definitely. Yes.
listening, just really deeply being present and listening to the birds, to the wind in the like that can be really valuable in helping a leader get very present,
Yes.
feel very connected and grounded, and yeah, reinvigorate some of that energy like you talked about. I think that can be really valuable.
Yeah, the sun is a natural healer. I don't think a lot of people realize that when they stuck in the house all day, like now with
Yeah,
kids, back in the day when I was a kid, we used to go outside and play. But
yeah,
kids now they stay in the house and play video games and they not getting
yeah,
any sun. And then we have situations now around, the fall time, people get seasonal depression because the sun is not out so you need that sun just to get a little, it's a healer. You have to get some of it. I mean, right now it's definitely hot, but
right.
just a little bit of sun can do something good for your skin, for your body, for your health.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And I think, in terms of how we lead ourselves and in our business, you said it. Like we really have to focus on our own mindset.
Hmm.
We really have to think about, what are we doing to ensure, and I'm doing a lot of this right now because I've been struggling with some health stuff. What do I need to do in order to, you know, build my own resilience, to recharge my battery, and to really be in that space where I can be courageous, where I can take those bold steps, where I can really maximize my time, but also have that pleasure. So I'm really working that right now myself because I think, we can get really caught up in the grind. There's
Definitely.
always lots of work to do. Yeah, there's always lots of work to do, but we got to take care of ourselves first.
Number one.
Number one.
That's the one of the rules when in a situation on the airplane, if the plane is going down and you need to hurry up, put that oxygen mask on. The first thing you think is to put it on my child, because we as mothers, we think about our children,
Of
but you
course.
have to put it on yourself first, because how you going to save the child if you you knocked out?
Well, and I think it's the perfect metaphor. I mean, put that oxygen mask on first, because the truth is, as business owners and business leaders, if we are not on our game, if we are not really feeling powerful as a leader, if we're not feeling engaged in the work we're doing, if we're not showing up correctly for the team that we lead, then there is no business. Like
Right.
it really does emanate, right? It really does emanate from us. And so, yes. And I think we're also guilty, so many of us, of actually forgetting that we got to put that oxygen mask on.
Yes, definitely. Especially when you first start your entrepreneurial journey, because it's like you said, so much work to do and you feel overwhelmed, especially when you are a one-man band, you a one-man show, and
Yeah.
it's so much to do. And it's a lot of the things that you don't even know how to do. You're learning as you're going. So it can get overwhelming.
It sure can. I mean, you probably see this in your travels. I certainly do, where it does become really overwhelming, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes that's when clients come to me. I'm
Hmm.
feeling I'm feeling very stressed out. I'm feeling very overwhelmed. My business is growing and I almost can't be excited about that because there's so much work to do.
Exactly.
What do I do? How do I get back to the place where I actually really like my business again, instead of just feeling like all I do is work all the time? And
Right.
again, as moms, that's really tough because then our family is saying, "Where are you? Why aren't you here? Why are you always working? Why are you
Hmm.
always working, mom?" I don't know if your girls are saying that to you, but
Well,
certainly,
they're a little older now, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. And I think, that's a tricky spot too. I mean, I don't know where exactly you're at in your business. Are you feeling that growth and that pressure that comes from that space?
Not right now. I think just from having the salon experience and being in business at the salon, I know how to balance my work life balance. It's
Yeah.
I don't overwhelm myself with work, because money will always come, but time will not.
Yeah. You can't
So
make time.
you can't make more time.
Nope.
Time will keep going, and it's going really fast. Don't it seem like time getting faster?
Yeah,
Don't it seem
it
like
does.
it's no longer 7 days in a week. It's no longer 24 hours in a day.
Yeah. It does, doesn't it? It feels
Yeah.
like a lot.
So, and the older you get, the more you realize that. So you just really have to set, like I said, those boundaries. It
Yeah.
comes with your time as well. Just allot a certain amount of time to what you're going to work on. Write it down. Say, I'm gonna put this much time to this. I'll put this much time to this. I'm putting much time. And if you don't get to finish it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is tomorrow. You
Yeah.
know. So. but make sure you
Yeah.
set those boundaries.
And I think, when I work with a client, when they say to me, I don't even know what my boundaries are, I always like to go back to, what's most important to you? Those are kind of those are your values, right? The things that are most important to you. And I think for many of us, especially as, we come out of COVID or we leave a corporate job, we've just been in this space where we don't know anymore what's
Yeah.
important. And so
Yeah,
then it's hard to set a boundary because we don't know what we're building a boundary around. What are we even
exactly.
protecting here? And so, sometimes the work has to be about, okay, well, what do you care about most? Like for you, clearly your girls and your family are a value. That's real. You've talked about it a lot already. That I can tell that's a really important piece of who you are.
Hmm.
So then if you know what that is, you can create a boundary that protects time with my family, space with my family, attention with my, like, because I think sometimes we talk about boundaries and there's people out there that actually they don't even know where to start with that.
Well, and that's another thing from childhood too. I'm not going to blame the childhood, but a lot
No.
of people had childhoods where they had parents that didn't know what they were doing either. So they
Yeah,
raised,
fair
a
enough.
lot of us are still children. We are grown adults, but in our minds are still children.
Sure we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are things that people never had to do because they always either relied on their parents or they had toxic situations where they didn't know
Yes.
how to get out of certain situations. So it's
Yeah.
things that people are still trying to discover about themselves, trying to
Yeah.
heal from. So that's another aspect, like therapy. A lot of people need therapy. I've heard so many, especially Black women that came from corporate America that were with, like you said, like you had a toxic boss and you had to hurt, you just walked out. There's
Yeah.
so many situations that after that, a lot of people just had to go to therapy just to heal from the corporate job,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And I really appreciate, as a white woman, don't have that lived experience. But I can see my friends and colleagues who are women of color who, as women in general, we face barriers. Like, let's
Right,
just be clear about it.
right,
That's why a lot of women leave.
right.
It really is. But I recognize that as a woman of color, there's an added level of barrier there, that I'm not subject to. And I can really appreciate that so many women of color leave organizations, and whether they go and build their own business or they go back into a different job at a different space. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, if you're listening, seeking some therapy or counseling is really valuable. I'll also give a plug for coaching. If therapy doesn't feel like the right situation for you, working with a really great coach just to unpack and explore what was your experience and how did it affect you, and what do you want to leave behind, right? Setting down, processing through some of that stuff, setting it down, and then really understanding where do you want to go and how do you want to get there.
Right.
That's what a great coach can offer. A great therapist can do something quite similar. And the two things work great together. I work with lots of people that are seeing a therapist at the same time. But yeah, I think, invest in yourself. Unpack some of that junk.
Yes.
The junk in the trunk, as they say.
And we have a lot of junk as humans, and that doesn't go that goes beyond color,
Oh
sex.
yeah.
We all as humans, if you
Yes.
live on this earth today, we got a lot to unpack.
Don't we ever? And
Yes.
since COVID, like for real, COVID just really like exacerbated all that stuff. Like we got a whole bunch of people in this world running around totally dysregulated,
Yes.
struggling with addiction, struggling with
Yes.
mental health issues. I mean, that's the fallout. We all
Yes.
are seeing and feel, and I see and feel it in my own family.
Yeah.
So if you if you're looking to run your own business, spending some time and effort on understanding who you are, what you
Mhm.
care about most, what your purpose is in this world. Like, what are you doing on this planet? What are you here for?
Right.
And then rolling that into, okay, what is the mission of my business? What are the values that we hold in this organization? What's the vision of what we're trying to create? That I think is where we really integrate and we show up more fully in our
Definitely.
businesses. Does that, am I saying the truth here?
Yes, definitely. Makes sense. 100%.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What, I mean, I want to ask you more about how you blend together your leadership in your business and your leadership in your family. What does that look like for you?
Um, like I'm very let me see, how can I put this word? I'm assertive. I'm very assertive.
I love that. Say more about that.
So when I have something in place, I'm going to make sure that you know that this is what's going to happen and this is how it's going to be. And I'll of course listen to your side and see how we can mesh together. But
Yeah.
for the most part, if I know in my mind that that's how I want it and that's how I want it to be, then that's pretty much how it's going to go. So
Oh,
at my house, it's certain things that I don't like, and they know that I don't like. So they know that I don't like it, so it won't happen at my house. Then there's other things, of course, as when you have a husband and kids, it's stuff that's just going to be, you won't have to deal with it because you got a husband and kids. For the most part,
yes.
for the most part, we have things that we know that we like a certain
Yeah.
way. And I've raised my kids that way. They're very assertive. They know what they like. They know what they don't like. They
Yeah.
know how they're going to allow people to treat them. They know it's certain things that they're not going to allow people to do.
Yeah.
Um, and at first, I was trying to teach my daughter when she was younger because she had this thing where she would cut people off very, very quickly. And I was thinking maybe I'm teaching that, and am I teaching it wrong? But she has a value that if somebody does something once and it goes to the point where she feels that it was very disrespectful or she doesn't like it, she'll be quick to get that person out of her life. It won't be like she won't speak to them or anything, but she knows who her friends are and who's
Yeah.
not her friends. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I value about that I did teach them, because during that time of being a teenager and when you finding
Yeah.
yourself from middle school, high school, a lot of us went through the thing where we thought somebody was our friend and they had to show us otherwise, and we was like, oh, I thought they was my friend. My
Yeah.
daughters actually we've never had that situation with my daughters
Yeah.
because they always knew who they were and they always knew who wasn't their friend.
Yeah. I remember my mom saying to me years and years and years ago, you teach people how to treat you.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's so true. In your, you're talking about the example of your family and ultimately how your girls now are showing up in their own world. But I think it also applies again to us in our business. We teach people how to treat us in terms of how we interact with clients, how we interact with vendors, how we interact with other, entrepreneurs, right? When we're collaborating or co-creating. And I think it is so key. You use the word assertive, and I actually really appreciate that. I do think we don't have to be unkind.
Right.
We don't have to be mean about it. We just have to be really clear and really firm and
Yes.
really assertive.
Yes.
So I really appreciate that theme has come up 3 or 4 times here in this conversation. And I really love that because I think that often we do come to our businesses and we feel like, well, maybe I don't know enough or I haven't been in business long enough or I don't have enough certifications or or experience or blah 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 like that head trash, that
Mm-hmm.
saboteur conversation in our own head that maybe we're
Self-doubt.
not enough.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, we can be really clear about what our expectations are for ourselves and for others, and that only serves us in a positive way.
Yes. And I definitely think that's something that you should write down ahead of time as an entrepreneur. Write down what it is that you want and what it is
Yeah.
that you don't want,
Yeah.
because that will create your boundaries right there.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely beautiful advice. Really thinking about what do you want?
What
And
do
I
you
would add to that, what's most important to you,
want? Mm-hmm.
right? And then, yeah, the juxtaposition of what don't you want
Mm-hmm.
and also what's not as important.
Mhm.
And between those things, yeah, there you go. There's your
And how
values right there.
how are you showing up how are you treating people? Because I
Yes.
had a situation where, you know, that's another thing. As humans, sometimes in our minds, we expect people to treat us the way we're treating them, but that's not the way it works.
Um,
We have an expectation of, oh, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be on time and I'm going to expect everybody else to be. Well, we know that that's not true. Everybody's not going to show up. Everybody's not going to be on time. Everybody's not going to respect your time. So I had this situation where I went to a networking event. I seen this person in person. We set up a meeting. I said, we can get together this time. She said, yes. We set up a meeting. She didn't show up for the meeting. Like no call, no show, no anything.
oh,
So
wow.
I went on the LinkedIn and I sent her a message and nothing. So
Oh,
so then she posted a couple things. I actually seen one of her colleagues and she was saying that she was in a cohort for the Goldman Sachs small business thing. So she was really, really busy. I understood. I was like, I
yeah.
understand that she's really, really, really busy. So she was posting things after she finished graduating her cohort. I congratulated her and I was like, yeah, we supposed to get that meeting. We never had that meeting. We actually set up a meeting. She actually came to this meeting this time. But then she was supposed to do some things after. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna write this down because I want you to do this and I want you to get with this person and I'm going to introduce you to, and she never did.
Oh, that's too bad.
And this is a very this is would be a great collaboration partner for me.
Yeah.
So I had to put my feelings aside because, like I said, I'm assertive. So
Yeah.
at this time in my life, I feel that like she has already showed me who she is. She doesn't
Yes.
show up pretty
Yes.
much.
Yes. Yes.
So I had to put that aside and I say, is it worth me trying to continue this relationship because it'll be good for me? Or should I just, cut it off and just leave it because I don't want to deal
Yeah.
with a person in business? Like if we continue to have business, do I want to keep dealing with
Yes.
a person who doesn't show up?
Yes. Yep.
So I have to, I'm still actually still sitting thinking about it because that's the thing that I have to, is it just my pride and should I put it aside? Or was that really something, like I said, people show you who they are. People
Yeah,
show
they
you.
do. No, I think, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a real tough one. And I think, just listening to you, I think you already know what you're going to
Yes.
do.
Yes.
But I think it's a situation we encounter a lot. And I think, we have to, this is where we can go back to our values. You very clearly have a value of it around integrity, doing
Mhm.
what you say you're going to do, even when it's hard.
Definitely.
And if that's this is a great example of that. If the value of integrity is that important, then this is someone who doesn't have, they don't define that value in the same way.
Right.
And so, yes, could it potentially be lucrative? Maybe. You don't know.
Right.
But the truth is, do you really want to do business with someone who does not value integrity the same way you do?
Exactly.
And I think everybody listening would have a resounding no in their
Right.
head.
Right.
And so, yeah, but you're right. It's tough to think about, yeah, this person could send some great business my way. But you're right. Is this someone I want to do business with? No, not at
Right.
all.
In the long run, you got to think about the
Yeah.
short term and the long term goals. And as far as the long term goals, it
Yep.
doesn't seem like it would work out because every time it would be an expectation from me. She
Yep.
would fail to meet that expectation. And then
Yep.
I would get disappointed every time.
Well, and what is that frustration and disappointment worth? Can you put a dollar value on that?
Exactly. No.
Yeah.
No.
Right? The
Yeah.
aggravation, the time that you're going to waste. And so I thank you for offering that. That is a perfect way to sort of land the show in that, this is why your values are so critical in
Yeah.
helping you understand. They become the measuring stick, right? Where are you going to set your boundaries? Your values help you measure that. How are
Right.
you going to operate in your business? Your values help you measure that. How are you going to lead in your family and your business? How are you going to lead yourself? Your values give you the measure of that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a profound conversation. I love this. Thank you so very much for your time today. It's been
Thank you.
such a pleasure having this chat with you.
This was awesome. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. I feel so lucky that I get to connect with such amazing female entrepreneurs. And if you enjoyed today's session, would you do me a big favor? Would you hit subscribe and give this episode a 5-star review? I'd also love it if you would share with your friends. We've got a goal here at the Female Founder Unplugged podcast to impact 1,000 female founders. And with your help, we can really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show. And don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca. We'll see you next week.